Hello, I am going to discuss religion in schools. So first of all, the Constitution has some laws regarding religions in schools. If a school states to be both public and religious, this actually violates the separation of church and state. And the separation of church and state is a foundational principle of the American Constitution. So anyone that's acting in an official capacity for a school, so like teachers, coaches, administrators, anything like that, they are not allowed to lead students in prayer, devotional readings, or other religious activities. On the flip side, they cannot refrain the students from doing so. And they also cannot try to persuade the students to participate in prayer or other activities. In the U.S., freedom of religion means that the government is not allowed to declare a state of religion, and the citizens can freely exercise their beliefs in whatever religion they want. In this case, the government would be considered the public schools. So freedom of religion does not mean that one person can exercise their religion if it infringes on someone else's freedoms. So if a person practicing their religion is getting in the way of somebody else's freedoms, that's not what freedom of religion means. There are some concerns of taxpayers whenever religion is involved in school. Taxpayers should not be having to pay to support a religion that they're not a part of. Charter schools are actually taxpayer-financed public schools. They are not private schools. There are some benefits to having religion in school. It has been found that when religion and beliefs are taught in schools, that this can foster morals and values. And also helps to promote kindness, compassion, honesty, and other virtues. Promoting religion in school can encourage diversity because there are so many different types of religion. And religion and spirituality are generally associated with better mental health, lower levels of depressive symptoms, few symptoms of post-traumatic stress, fewer eating disorder symptoms, less perceived stress, lower risk of suicide, and less personality disorder. So you can see how those would be benefits for allowing religion in schools. There are also some downsides of allowing religion in schools. It can lead to the exclusion of children. So maybe some kids don't belong to the same faith as their friends. They might feel excluded. This could also lead to the risk of indoctrination, forcing your beliefs on the students. Risk of religious teachings being presented as fact rather than a personal belief. And then a greater exposure to religion can make the child less able to distinguish fact from fiction. With the debate of religion in schools, there are some people that are for it and some people that are against it. The Oklahoma State Attorney General, Ginter Drummond, he's opposed to religious school being publicly funded. Currently, right now in Oklahoma, there is a public Catholic school that has been passed to open in 2024. The Attorney General for Oklahoma is against it. Others that are against it, the ACLU, the Americans United for Separation of Church and State, the Education Law Center, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, they are all also against the new religious public school opening in Oklahoma, and they are filing a lawsuit against it. Forcing taxpayers to fund a religious school violates the Oklahoma's constitutions. The fact that no public money or property can ever be used to support religion. And again, it would not be fair for taxpayers to be supporting a religious school if that religion wasn't their belief. The Biden administration, they also understand that schools shouldn't be telling students how, when, or where, or whether they should or not pray. But Jeff Jacoby, on the other side, he argues that nothing in the Constitution prohibits contracting with religious providers to help fulfill important government obligations. So he is for it, and that's basically what church-run charter schools do. So religion in schools, what's going on now? Texas, at the moment, allows public schools to replace certified school counselors with religious chaplains that have no schooling in that. Missouri and Louisiana, they allow public schools to teach the Bible classes. There are religious charter schools that around that are threatening to upend the American education or the way that we do things. And then public school employees should never encourage or discourage the practice of any religion. Okay, so public school employees shouldn't be encouraging kids to practice religion in school, and they should not be discouraging kids to practice religion in school. The students may exercise their faith in any way, as long as that exercise does not disrupt school proceedings or infringe on another student's right to exercise religion. So that part's important. We don't want any prayer time or religious things to infringe on that student's learning or the learning of any other student. Students in school, they are able to start religious clubs. However, these clubs cannot discriminate against who can and can't be a member. Students are allowed to pray in school. They're allowed to wear religious clothing or jewelry in school. Teachers, they don't have to leave their religious beliefs at the door of a school. They are allowed to pray privately, and teachers can wear faith-based clothes and jewelry. Again, they just cannot push their beliefs onto anyone else. In 1952, the Supreme Court ruled that public school students can be released in the middle of the school day to receive religious education as long as the program is privately funded, off school property, and allowed by the students' parents. So like I said earlier, in Oklahoma, they are starting a state-funded Catholic charter school. It will be a virtual school. Projected open date will be the next school year, August of 2024. The thing with this public school is that their admissions, they've admitted, will be based on a student's religious beliefs. And that is discriminatory. And the curriculum will be religious-based. So the Pew Report, understanding what religion is currently doing in the United States, is going to have an effect on the way we do things in school. In the past, the United States has been mostly Christian. Currently, we are at about 64% of Americans are Christian. People that are not religiously affiliated, also known as the nones, N-O-N-E-S, they make up about 30% of Americans, and then all the other religions make up about 6%. However, it is projected that in 50 years, there will only be about 35 to 54% of Americans that are Christian, and then religiously unaffiliated Americans are going to make up about 34 to 52%. So we are looking at a shift in how many people are unaffiliated. The decline of Christianity with the rise of those that are unaffiliated, it could have some complex causes on our society, and then this could in turn create consequences for politics, family life, and civil society. So the United States Department of Education, they have rules set in place for schools regarding religion in school. One thing is that in order for a local education agency, which would be a public school, to receive funding, they have to certify annually that they don't have any policies that prevents or denies the protected practice of prayer in public education. And they have to turn in paperwork to the state, and then the state turns it in to the federal level. Again, school officials, anyone acting in a school official capacity, they may not promote or favor religion or coerce the consciences of students. Schools, like I said earlier, they are not religious-free zones, and religious expressions do not have to be left at the door. Again, public school officials that are acting in their official capacity, they may not lead students in prayer, devotional readings, or other religious activities, nor may they attempt to persuade students to participate in prayer or other religious activities. But it's also important to know that public school officials acting in their official capacity may not refrain students from participating in prayer or other religious activities. More from the United States Department of Education. Students are not prohibited from voluntarily praying at any time before, during, or after the school day. They may pray with other students throughout the day, but again, this has to follow the same terms and conditions that they can engage in other comparable conversations or activities. So, for example, if a teacher isn't allowing open conversations in class, then that would not be a time for them to be praying. But at lunch, whenever the kids are allowed to have conversations, that would be an appropriate time for a student to pray. Students, they are able to persuade their peers about religious matters. Again, this is different from the school officials. School officials can't do that. School officials can enforce reasonable rules to ensure that the students' freedoms don't disrupt classwork or impede on the rights of other students, which I said earlier, we just want to make sure, that the learning comes first in the school. So public schools, they may not provide any religious instructions, but they may teach about religion. The reason being is our country was founded on religion, so there is a lot of talk about religion in our history. That is not teaching the religious beliefs, it's teaching the history. The school may not observe holidays as religious events, and students, they are able to express their beliefs about their religion in their work and their assignments. So my suggestion would be to allow the students and staff their religious freedoms. That is allowed in the Constitution and through the U.S. Department of Education, so long as those freedoms don't interrupt learning time and they don't infringe on other people's freedoms, like I said, per the current laws. Here are my references for the facts that I talked about today, and more references. Correlation for the assignment. So the role play was evaluated with regards to the legal, because I discussed the current laws and what is in the Constitution in terms of religion in schools. I also evaluated the ethical and equity issues of having religion in school by discussing the pros and cons, along with how some religions, or lack thereof religion, may be discriminated against. The law was analyzed throughout my presentation by discussing the Constitution. The law states that church and state are to remain separate. However, school officials cannot stop individuals from practicing their beliefs, nor can they force their beliefs on anyone else. I communicated the policies, laws, regulations, and procedures by maintaining an unbiased stance while presenting the facts. To monitor adherence to laws, rights, policies, and regulations in the future, I would first speak with any individual that might be blurring the lines to make sure they understand their expectations, and it would also be important at the beginning of the school year to go over the policies for all the staff. Relevancy, this assignment improved my understanding of religion in school. I'm now better able to understand that educators aren't expected to leave their faith at the door. They just can't push it on anyone else, discriminate against others because of it, and not allow their faith to get in the way of their job. Understanding the law in regards to religion in schools is important for future building leaders. I need to understand these so that I will know how to properly regulate it in my schools. If I took a poll in my community, I believe that the majority of the people in the Baptist church would endorse religion in the school. However, they would have problems with other faiths being taught in school as well. My community also has a Catholic school, so I imagine they would endorse it as well. But being a small farming community, I don't think many would be adamantly opposed to it. From my reflection, this assignment will influence the decisions I will make as a future school leader. For example, a high school teacher in my district is wanting to start an FCA group. By knowing what I learned in this project, I now know what he legally can and can't do to get this group started. For starters, the fact that a school official is wanting to start it can already start to blur some lines. As the article suggested, religion across the U.S. is changing. By understanding the laws, I will be able to help protect my students and staff's freedoms. For example, I know that it is okay for a staff member to wear a cross on his or her shirt to express their religious beliefs. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.